G'day there guys, Markee here, and welcome back to another episode of r/Am I the Arsehole? As always, I hope you liked the episode. Smack that like button if you liked it, sit back and relax and enjoy. Let's go. Am I the arsehole for getting a hotel room? My partner, 30 female, and I, 30 male, flew halfway across the country to visit her family for Christmas. I sustained a serious back injury at work at the end of September and have just recently started gaining mobility again after many painful months. They were aware of my injury, and we even expressed our concerns about traveling because of it. Her parents are very traditional and refuse to allow unmarried couples to sleep in the same bed or room, even though they know we live together and have visited our house in the past. Because of this, I was forced to sleep in the basement bedroom on a twin mattress that was at least 20 years old. I should also mention that I'm 6'3" and do not fit on a twin mattress at all. The first night was so incredibly painful and caused my entire right leg to go numb, and I essentially got no sleep. We decided to get a hotel room after that, so that I could actually sleep on a decent mattress that didn't make my injury worse. When I explained this to my partner's mother, she insisted that I just needed to adjust the mattress in the basement and that I was being ridiculous. I was firm but polite about it, and she seemed to be fine with it after that. Well, when it came time to head over to the hotel for the night, she freaked out. Apparently, she didn't know my partner was also staying at the hotel. She told my partner that she didn't raise her like this, and then just sulked in the living room while we packed our bags. Apparently after we left, she spent the rest of the night crying. All I wanted to do was sleep in a bed that I could actually fit on and didn't cause active nerve pain in my leg. So am I the arsehole here? Now in the comments, not the arsehole. You and your partner made sensible decisions. Your partner's mum is being over-emotional and ridiculous. Indeed. She knows they live together. Her inability to accept that fact in this day and age is really sad, and frankly, not her business. Not the arsehole. Not only is the idea of unmarried couples sleeping separately completely outdated, but they know that you're already doing so in your own home, unless they assume one of you sleeps on the couch, and you have medical needs that aren't being attended to in their home. You are respecting their wish that unmarried couples not sleep together in their home. Her parents seem to have the ability to wish away the situation by simply ignoring it. If you don't see it, it doesn't exist. That's their problem. Shrug it off and move on. I keep scratching my head over what "didn't raise her like this" could possibly mean in this situation. Didn't raise her to nook before marriage? The time to reckon with that should have been when the daughter started cohabiting. Didn't raise her to leave in response to "not under my roof"? Renting a room is a natural consequence to the house rules that mum set. Didn't raise her to want to sleep next to her injured partner? The daughter sleeps next to OP every night and probably doesn't sleep well away from him. Not the arsehole. Not the arsehole. Your priority is to take care of yourself and your health. If you can please everyone else, that's great. If not, then it's their problem. You aren't asking for anything unreasonable. They are entitled to their views, just as you are entitled to yours, but it isn't your responsibility to keep them happy. I wish you all the best for the remainder of your trip. And OP says, thanks. We just finished having a nice breakfast and are enjoying a nice cup of coffee now. And back to the post, there is an update. Thanks for the kind wishes, everyone. We went back over to her parents this morning, and her mum wouldn't really speak to either of us, and was being incredibly passive-aggressive. We went ahead and left for the airport to catch a flight home. We are enjoying some much-needed rest at the airport, and are looking forward to getting back home. Our next post is titled, Am I the arsehole for refusing to look after my 26 male, roommate's 25 female, cat while she is on a 3-week vacation? So my roommate loves cats. She'd like to have a dozen, and if it was up to her alone, I have no doubt she would have at least several cats. About a year ago, after she kept bringing it up, I finally relented and let her get a cat. The reason I say let is because we both have to agree. If one of us doesn't agree, it is not allowed by the landlord. On to the story. My roommate informed me that she was going to go on a vacation with her family about a week ago. Nothing more. I just said okay and made conversation asking when she was going, where she was going, usual stuff. That brings us to yesterday. She starts running me through the types of cat food that I should give her cat, how often its litter box needs to be cleaned, what the number of the vet is, and at that point, I just stop her and ask her why she's telling me this. I was plain confused. She looked just as confused and told me that she was just telling me stuff that I needed to know since she is leaving on Monday. I just told her that I am not sure what she's getting at, but I sure hope she's not assuming that I'm going to take care of her cat while she's gone, because that's not happening. Cue a full-blown panic, where she starts tearing into me about how she assumed I wouldn't mind taking care of our cat, and how she doesn't have time to find someone else. I retaliated by saying it's her cat, I've got nothing to do with it, and I suggested that she house him with one of the few animal motel-type deals. That was a no-go, and she has since been crying, panicking, arguing, and begging about it. I obviously can't help but feel bad. The vacation is already paid for, a cat motel is really expensive, especially on short notice, and she doesn't really have friends who she can ask. On my side, it's less so that I do not like cats, which I don't, and more so that I think cleaning up after her cat is disgusting, and I don't want to be forced to look after a cat that can't sleep alone. He will meow all night if she doesn't let him in her room. I talked to my girlfriend and some buddies about it, all of whom agree to some extent that I should just watch the cat this one time. And now in the comments, not the asshole. I am the biggest animal lover, and even I am saying don't do it. If you do, she will pull this on you again in the future. 2. Her pet, her responsibility. She can't assume that you will watch her pet for 3 weeks. Taking care of another person's animal is a big responsibility. Stand your ground. There are plenty of options for her, and if she can afford a 3-week vacation, she should be responsible enough to find proper accommodations for her furry child. Edit to add, don't let her tears and yelling manipulate you into changing your mind. And OP says, 1. Not sure about that. I do think reality hit her in the face. And 2. I grew up with animals, so it shouldn't be hard for me. It's more that I really don't want to. Not the asshole. She shouldn't have assumed that you'd be taking care of her cat when she's gone. First, it is not your pet, and second, what if you were leaving somewhere as well? It's her problem. And OP replies, I told her that as well. I mean, I work full-time to begin with, often work overtime as well, so I'm not sure about the logistics here. Is she expecting me to go home early to feed her cat? Am I supposed to just not go out on the weekends? When it comes to cats, you can easily get a self-feeder and not worry about the cat for a while. That's what I was thinking. Cats are super easy. You only really need to check on them once or twice a week to make sure the feeder and water are full and to clean the litter box. I don't know why the roommate didn't just hire a pet sitter to stop by a couple times a week. It's like $30 a visit max. That is just not true. Cats are extremely routine-oriented, and unless they are used to being left alone for days on end, you can't just suddenly do that to them. Cats are also less resilient than dogs when it comes to missing meals and water. Not to mention, if the cat is used to a litter box that gets cleaned daily, as they all should, you're going to end up with a cat suddenly peeing in places you don't want. OP, not the asshole, but please don't make the cat suffer for your roommate's poor planning. Not the asshole. She should have never assumed that you would watch the cat. The cat is her responsibility, not yours. And OP says, that sure was the idea. And now onto the update. It didn't take me long to make an update as I decided to talk to her today, thanks to everyone that responded. I did a lot of thinking, and a few comments in particular struck a chord. Here and there, people pointed out and put a link between her behavior now and her behavior when I agreed to let her have the cat in the first place. Pushy, manipulative, and consistent asking and demanding until she gets her way, coupled with what I struggle to describe as anything but tantrums. I started realizing that in the time that we have lived together, that's pretty much her go-to when things don't go her way, and the only reason I didn't really notice before is because I do not socialize with her much at all, as she tends to only really exit her room when she needs to cook, wants something, or goes to work. So I initially decided that I needed to sit her down, put down some boundaries, and I also decided I was going to, albeit reluctantly, watch her cat for the 3 weeks. Until the conversation happened, that was. The moment she sat down, she immediately talked over me and said, "I hope you reconsidered since you put me in a bad spot here." It surprised me, and I told her she put herself in a bad spot, and from there, she went into tantrum mode. I barely got a word in the entire time, and she was just switching between demanding that I change my mind, lying by saying we got the cat together so it's my duty, begging, and borderline insulting me. I lost my cool and told her to have fun figuring out what to do with her cat, as I ain't helping, and I walked off. I did a bit of thinking and came to a perhaps rash decision that I'm going to inform the landlord that I am not renewing the lease, finding a new place in the month and a half that I've got left on the lease, and that shouldn't be difficult. I've always got a couple of buddies to fall back on, and while it may leave my roommate in a shitty situation, I doubt she can afford the place on her own. I'm kind of done caring. Even aside from all of the issues described above, I just realized I don't like living with her. Every roommate I've had I get along with. It tends to be fun, and we become friends, or at least friendly. With her, well, she's at best boring. I mean, like I said, in all the time we have lived together, I would hardly call her an acquaintance. That's just not the sort of person I want to live with. So there we are. I haven't informed her yet, and I won't until I contact the landlord. And now in the comments, glad to hear that your lease is almost up. And OP says, me too, to be honest. I'm glad to be rid of her. 2022, new home, new me. Enjoy, OP. She doesn't sound like a pleasant person to be cohabiting with. I kind of hope you eventually show your roommate this, and she gets to read how very, very close she came to having you agree to cat sit before she drove that truck straight off the road. And OP says, yeah, well, maybe I'll send her the link once I'm moved out, lol. At least she can see how thousands of strangers took your side and she's in the wrong. Bad roommates are the worst. I'll never live with roommates again. I'm glad you're getting out. And OP says, I quite liked it in the past, but before her, I only ever had fun social roommates. Our next post is titled, Am I the asshole for telling Dad that he was selfish for wanting to raise his employee's salary? Jane has been working for my dad for 5 years. She was 18 when she started. She is a very hard-working, kind, and smart girl. Her parents kicked her out when she was 18. She has gotten really close to everyone. Mum loves her. She has spent the last 3 Thanksgivings with us. She reminds everyone of my sister. My sister passed away when she was 14. Everyone in my family has grown attached to her. She's planning to go to school to get a bachelor's next year. It is a great decision as there is no future here. My dad will retire in a few years. This is a crap business which no one will want to take over. The only reason it's able to get by is because most of the employees are old-timers in it because they have nothing better to do. She would be adrift, and she's a really smart kid. She deserves a real shot at doing what she wants to. My dad is upset. He is murmuring something about giving her a raise if he managed his expenses so that she would stay. I told him not to do it. I know that she's scared about moving away and living in a new area. There is a good chance that she would be convinced to stay if she gets a raise. She's scared already. It is a huge change, and my family is the only support system that she has. I'm afraid that she's going to grab the raise and decide to stay. He is hoping that she will take the raise and stay. I told him that it would be a really selfish thing to do. Everyone knows that this business has no legs to stand on. She wants to go to college. She's been talking about it for years. I told him the proper thing to do would be to give her some money for college and wish her well, and not dangle a raise he can't afford to keep her in a shitty situation which she can't get away from. My dad is upset, and I think I was a bit harsh about it. Mum told me that I should have been gentle and try to understand his emotions rather than lashing out at him. And now in the comments, not the asshole. It's one thing if he genuinely wants to help her out with a raise, but it's another thing if he wants to manipulate her into staying. Maybe you were a bit harsh in your delivery, but that's not acceptable behavior as her employer, especially if he cares about her. If he really wants her to stay, he can have a conversation with her as a friend, not as her employer using money as leverage. If they want to maintain a good relationship with her, as if she is a member of the family, then reassuring her of that is what is required. Give her some money to help in school, maintain contact and encouragement on her progress and achievements, and encourage her to come visit when she can. Maybe they all drift apart, or maybe they establish an ongoing family bond and relationship. Not the asshole. You were looking out for your adoptive sister's best interests. How magnanimous for someone to do that as well, especially when there was no benefit to OP to even mention this. Good on them. Not the asshole, OP. You would have felt bad if you didn't say it like you did. I'm going to say no assholes here. He can offer a raise. It is entirely up to her whether or not she takes it, and I can't call you an asshole for being concerned about her future, but it's ultimately not your decision. Quote, it is entirely up to her whether or not she takes it. This part is a bit iffy. She's 23 with no family, an employer who, frankly, inappropriately incorporated her into his own family and is seemingly willing to feed off of her fears to make her stay. While the act of saying, yes, I'll stay, or no, I need to go, is hers, the build-up seems to be already out of her hands. I would tread carefully. And now, onto the update. I received a lot of varied opinions from this subreddit. I realized I was too harsh. I talked to Dad, I apologized to Dad, and he told me that he couldn't give her the raise, and even though he was afraid that he would lose touch with her, he wouldn't try to convince her to stay. The funny thing is that she has talked to me about the same thing. She's scared that we would forget about her when she moved away. I was talking about this with my mother-in-law, and she suggested that I look into adult adoption. I talked to a lawyer friend of Dad, and he said that it was legal in our state. I presented it to my parents, and they loved the idea, and they said they would love to do it if she was willing. My dad talked to her about it, and she said yes. The legal process will probably take some time, but I think just wanting to make the sentiment official probably helps them both feel more secure. And now in the comments, that's a surprising twist, but glad to hear. A much better outcome than what I thought would happen, even in the best case scenario. It reminds me of the saying, the path to hell is paved with good intentions. I kind of shudder to think what would happen if he had gone through with it 10 years from now. After reading the first part, I'm glad you said what you did. Paying a person to stay and inhibit their potential is wrong. I understand not wanting them to leave, especially when they've become like family, but you have to let them go, because in the future, you'll only hate yourself for holding them back. Technology is great with helping to keep families and friends close despite long distances. Hell, my grandma was able to FaceTime a foreign exchange student that she hadn't seen in over 30 years. And that's where I end today's episode, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, tell me what you thought of it down in the comments below. Don't forget to like the video if you liked, dislike if you disliked, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye.